we're supposed to be doing, and we are, but it's just, as Penny will know, it's trust but verify on everything. So there's a lot of verifying going on last week. Fortunately, we know what we're doing here, so it turned out okay. But it was just like I said, the virtual. I didn't love it. All right, well, let's get started, shall we? I'm going to call to order the Board of Trustees of the Spokane Public Library meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, and it is 4:31 p.m. And first thing we're going to take a look at, welcome any visitors. We're going to take a look at our proposed agenda, and I will ask if there are any changes or adoptions to the proposed agenda. Hearing none, we're going to take a look at the January 2021 board minutes as presented in our packet.
I move that we approve the board minutes.
All right, I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the January 2021 board minutes as presented. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Those are approved. Now let's take a look at period 13, 2020 bills and contributions, please.
Okay, I move that we approve the period 13 bills and contributions in the amount of $3,417,560.50. Now, should we do the other one at the same time?
Let's do them separately just to keep things all neat and tidy.
Okay.
All right, I'll second Jim's motion.
Yeah.
Very good. That's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any opposed? Now let's take a look at the January 2021 bills and contributions.
That is, I move that we approve the January 2021 bills and contributions in the amount of $820,994.37.
I'll second.
Very good, and very good, Jim. Those are
Just
big numbers, and I can never get them right. So
all up to Laura and I today.
I congratulate you.
Are we going to have any other board members?
I'm not sure, but it has been moved and seconded to approve the January 2021 bills and contributions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Those have been approved. So we move on to the financial report. Nicole, is that you?
Yes, it is, Mary. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm just going to jump in here for library operations 2020 year end. So for the cash and investments trend, we closed the 2020 year with the ability to pay 120 days of operating costs. For our expenditure trend, the expenditures for December, which include the period 13 accrual, was $1,262,602. Wages and benefits were $818,382 of that amount. We did have 3 pay periods in December, and there was a slight January accrual as well. We also paid $26,875 on our annual subscription for a mobile app and customer booking technology. The rest of the expenses were normal and routine in nature. And I just want to point out just really quick on that expenditure trend graph in front of you. If you look at the December amounts for 2018, 2019, and 2020, 2018 does look very low in comparison. And just to kind of remind you in case you don't recall, basically there were pre-bond costs that were accrued throughout the year of 2018, and there was a reimbursement of those bond costs of $532,000. So that's that little difference there. So now I'm going to move on to the annual graphs of the presentation numbers on the next page. But first off, I just want to start with the encumbrance carry forward list from 2020. This list represents the outstanding commitments from 2020 that were in progress or awaiting invoices at the end of the year. These are in forms of contracts or purchase orders. These commitments still require completion, so they will be carried into the new year. That same amount will be added to the 2021 adopted budget. So the total encumbrance carry forward amount is $86,325.60. So now looking at the year-end results. Overall, our excuse me, our net resources at year-end were $862,324. And I just want to point out, I'm sure that you recall, it's pretty recent in 2020, the city did predict revenue shortfalls related to the pandemic and implemented the cost containment process, asking city departments to basically commit to cost reductions that we could. We were able to assist with those efforts, and our realizable savings was about 400,000, was exactly 400,000. So you'll notice in this chart here, it's a little bit different than historical years. Our general fund revenue was down by 400,000 in that far right column, and also the city cost containment budget amount of 400,000 was taken out. So in the graphs that the supplemental information that I have, I've actually adjusted those expenditure budget amounts to reflect that reduction that we realized. So moving on.
Nicole, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What is a chariot vacuum? My mind is intrigued with it.
It's kind of exactly how it sounds. So it's a vacuum you actually stand on and ride. So just
When you say that
Oh,
you can stand on, do you mean that I can do that if I?
yes, if you really wanted to.
It just sounds like fun. It's like driving the Zamboni, a dream of mine.
It is like a miniature carpet Zamboni.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so moving on to the financial resources portion. So for the general fund and levy lid lift, our total tax related revenue was $10,138,618. And then our non-tax related revenue was $213,377. The budget amount of that is $146,734. As you can see here, these are our categories of those non-tax related revenue dollars. The top three categories this year was the other program support, which is basically local sponsors and grant dollars. Also the city IT shared position, which is Shiloh Dietz, our community data coordinator. It's wonderful to have her on our team this year. And also the interest income. Those are the top three. Moving down to the overall expenditure budget versus year to date by expenditure type. So we essentially utilized 93% of our budget overall. Again, this has been adjusted to reflect those city cost containment efforts that we committed to. So any questions on that one before I get into the actual details? Okay. Alrighty, so moving to staffing costs. We utilized for salaries and wages 97% of the budget. So again, one of the main cost containment efforts was in this category. We did end when we closed the year, we had 6.93 vacant FTEs. Just so you guys are aware. And then for the benefit side of that, we just utilized 93% of the budget for the 2020 year on that. And for supplies and services, so supplies, we utilized 67% of our budget. Pretty similar spending to 2019. We spent a little bit less on our minor equipment and operating supplies. And then for the services side of things, we actually utilized 92% of that budget. So moving on to the interfund charges. Overall, our budget for interfund was $235,931. We spent $203,000 of that amount. So it's about 86% utilized. So we had $33,000 unspent. The majority of the unspent interfund dollars was for facility repairs and fuel costs. And then To the last graph on this portion is the capital and debt service expenditures. So overall, we spent 86% of that budget. You'll see the building improvements had a pretty small amount. That was just the South Hill HVAC repair. Our library books and materials, we spent 85% of that whole budget at $821,334. Again, that was reduced by $100,000 for the cost containment effort. The rest are pretty standard. You'll notice also the RFID loan payment is a little bit under what our budget was, so $47,431, where the city had budgeted $56,996. They did in 2019 negotiate lower interest rates, so we're starting to see the benefit of that. So I'm going to open for questions before I move on to the January 2021.
This might be a question more for Andrew. Have we yet gotten any idea from the city what the collections are looking like, if we're going to be in trouble?
Nothing really, no. I mean, they're certainly better, I think, than anticipated, but nothing for sure. We'll be entering into the budget process. Well, since we just finished, now it's going to start up again in March. But nothing for sure yet. They're being cautious, really, what those projections are. You know, you see across the state that they're better than projected as well, and I think that we're following suit. They're going to be less than pre-pandemic, but better outlook than anticipated.
Not the worst case scenario that we were concerned about. Okay.
Any other questions for the year end? Okay. All right, then I will move on to the library operations January 2021 update for the financial report. So for our cash and investment, to start off the year, we closed with our first month and the library is able to pay 114 days of operating costs. So we have $3,889,714 in cash and investments, net of encumbrances, and $541,537 of that amount is reserved for capital. And for our expenditure trend in January, it was $692,676. $441,972 of that amount was for payroll and benefits. $104,609 was for books and materials. $57,741 was for our 2021 renewal of our materials and customer software database. $20,226 was for the equipment purchase. That was from 2020. Again, that was on the list of the encumbrance carry forward amount. And I did confirm that those budgets were added to our 2021 budget corrected. So encumbrance carry forward is taking care of itself there. And then for the expenditures, $22,912 was for insurance premiums. That was for 2 months of coverage, as well as the annual amount for the management liability coverage. $17,461 was for leases and utilities, and $12,358 was for the first quarter interfund charges. And then on to the business office news. Just have one update right now. So along with the city, we're still underway with the year-end tasks and getting everything wrapped up for basically all the 2020 recons, everything like that. We do expect to have that done by the end of this month. The city may continue to post closing entries past February, but as far as our library work, we plan to be complete by then. So I'm going to open that up for any questions regarding January before Penny proceeds with the bond financial update.
Questions for Nicole?
None from me.
Very good. Thank you so much, Nicole. A lot of
Thank you,
good
everyone.
news in there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Penny.
Before I get started on the bond, I actually wanted to acknowledge Nicole Edwards. She came to us in October 2019, and imagine that she jumped right into year end. We moved our entire operations to STA, and then COVID hit, and she just delivered her second year of year-end closing results. So Nicole Edwards, thank you. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Penny. That was very kind.
Thank you. We all appreciate you very much, Nicole. Thank you. And
Thank you, Mary.
sounds like it's been a crazy couple of years.
Yes,
and-
but it's a great opportunity and I'm just loving it. So thank
Okay,
you.
see, that's the attitude. That's what
Yeah.
gets us here.
Thank you so
So-
much.
Okay, so I'll just start with a little general bond business update. We recall that we had our artist presentations and approved those, the execution of contracts. John Rogers is all done. So, and he's all signed around for the central branch. And as of today, Jasmine Brown is fully executed and she's doing the shuttle branch. And we had originally talked about doing an opt-out contract with Sean Parks because he needed to present another presentation on his artwork, but we went at it a little differently and let him just have another stipend. And he did present and was accepted. So I have his contract in development right now. So feeling pretty good about that. We also executed the 2 Helvetica contracts, one for the signage step 4 design and project management. And the other one is for the fabrication and installation of those signage. So both those have been executed and we're ready to move forward on that. I put some rather fun stats down on the bond. So what have we been doing over the last 24 months? It was kind of staggering when I pulled these out. We have actually executed 30 contracts in the last 24 months. We've executed 8 contract amendments. We've issued 18 purchase orders. We've advertised 16 requests for bids or proposals. We've executed 56 change order proposals and 15 change orders. It's been a lot of work, but and the ironic part is the most of that has taken place in the last 6 to 8 months. It's been real heavy now because of the stages that we're in the projects. So if you'll turn to the next page, this is our encumbrance carry forward for the bond. We have $33 million rolling forward. Again, this represents our contracts and purchase orders that were in progress at the year end 2020. The budget that supports these obligations roll forward with it, and that has already been completed. On the next page, you'll see that little pie chart, and it basically is a snapshot of how our $77 million in proceeds are distributed amongst the sites. If you look down on the graph below, that shows you in the last 24 months how we've been expending towards these projects. In the first 12 to 18 months, we were spending between $300,000 and $500,000 a month. But in the last 6 months, we've jumped up to $3 million per month. That's our average right now. I'm projecting that 2021 will be our highest year of procurement and our highest year in monthly disbursements. And I say that because all of the projects will be in progress at some point in their project life. It's the only year that this will take place in the 5-year bond. We also will be procuring technology, our automated materials handling, furniture, fixtures, and shelving. Just furniture, fixtures, and shelving alone is $6.6 million. So we've got a lot of hard work ahead of us here in 2021, but then we're going to be on the downhill slide. Okay, I'll take you to the next page. And this should be a familiar report. It's included in our monthly board packets every month. This is a combined statement of revenue and expenditures. What we have underneath this combined budget and expenditures are 8 site budgets or 8 sub-budgets. And we're going to look at those in just a moment. But before we do that, I just wanted to talk about the difference between the bond and what Nicole just presented in operations. The accounting cycles open and close every year. We can't change that. But for measurement purposes, we need to look at the bond on a 5-year continuum. Proceeds came in at the end of 2018, and we need to track our progression for the full 5-year period, which is why I displayed this as budget, and then each of the year's expenditures. Now the city, they have, engineering does multi-year projects all the time, but they have project software. We use Excel. It works just as fine for us, but what I did was build in a number of cross checks, and especially I anchor to cash every single month. That guarantees that I don't have a hiccup in my financial picture. So if we'll turn to the next page, we have a site budget, a sub-budget that's called program owner costs. This is where we capture the costs that are not site specific. For example, Group 4, when they developed the master plan. Hill International for the work that they served to us that, for instance, our user access control systems, or working on the preparation of our children's areas. We have to capture these costs, but we don't distribute them until near the end of all of the projects. Once we know the percent of total bond costs that went to the, for instance, downtown, we'll allocate out A&E, the Group 4, and Hill proportionately to each one of these sites. And then it effectively increases the asset for the building. We've also elected to capture our technology purchases here and the automated materials handling. The reason we wanted to do it this way is because technology we can buy in large blocks. For instance, when we buy in screens, rather than buying on a site basis, we want to buy in large blocks. IT will ready these for service, and then they'll communicate to the business office what items will be transferring to the site. Once that happens and they go into service, they move out of the construction in progress world, the one that I'm managing, and it goes into Nicole's world, and it's subject to the annual audit, and it's under the custodial caretaking of the branch. It's not uncommon for a line item to go negative in the bond. Remember, it's a 5-year continuum. So if you look at the program owner cost financial down below, you'll see that over to the far right that we have budget remaining negative of $160,000. That's actually for signage that we know that we're going to fund out of our 2021 budget. We also have a small amount just for some legal costs that went over on that line. But I guess my point is that we'll see a negative in each one of our site budgets, but it's typical for me to go in. This will happen in March. I'll evaluate each site. And if I need to fund it from contingency, that's what I will do. Or if we determine that we have a line item that is over budgeted, we'll shift from that location. Or we'll use our investment earnings that we have actually built into our 2021 budget, and we'll see that at the very end. Okay, let's turn the page and we'll take a look at the central branch. At Central, you'll see that we have a negative children's area budget because we haven't distributed our interest earnings. We just approved that as part of our 2021 budget to fund children's area. We've incurred some costs, so it's negative at the moment. We had the ability to pay those. We'll see a negative for children's in all of our sub-budgets. So like I say, we'll fund that in 2021. Central Branch has the largest budget for consultant services. This is primarily due to the work that the evaluations that we were having done on the curtain wall and the roof. The consultant services are also comprised of commissioning services, which is when we hire a company to come in and they help test all of the equipment and make sure we know how to run it. They also make sure that it was installed properly. So they act as a liaison on a more specialty basis, similar to what Hill International does for us. It also contains such things as surveys, geotechnical services, and special tests. As we move through the next couple of budgets, you'll see that these line items are very similar. There's only a couple exceptions, and I'll point those out to you. So we'll turn next to Shadle Park Branch. Once again, children's area is negative. It'll be funded in 2021. Our other capitalized cost is also negative on Shadle. And that's because our permit fees were just a little bit higher. That line item captures permit fees, some small items for advertising, and our builder's risk insurance. Our permits were 148,000 in 2020, and our builder's risk insurance was 17,000. So now we'll turn to the Hive. This is one of those exceptions. We don't have children's area here. One thing we have done on all of the sites is we elected to pay our utility costs directly and the builder's risk insurance. We could have instead had the contractor pay them, add them to their invoice, then they would mark them up and then charge sales tax. So obviously that wasn't a good option for us, and we have the capability to make those payments ourselves. Turning now to Liberty Park Branch. Once again, children's area in the negative. Other capitalized costs also negative. This was also primarily due to our permit fees. I'll cinch that up when I do my budget transfer in March. Here we have another exception. This particular site has a land acquisition line in the amount of $175,000. That's related to the MOU that we have with Parks Department where we just put our building on their tennis courts, and we are obligated to kind of make an exchange of payment for that, and we'll do that in some sort of a installation of a park approved equipment. So that concludes the sub projects. But if you turn to the next page, we circle back now to January 2021. Remember that we're in a continuum. So if we look down below, you'll see that our children's area still is negative in total because I haven't made the budget transfer. But I also have bolded the amount of $3,216,000. That's the approved budget of the investment earnings that we brought forward in 2021. So in March, I will take from that budget line and push it out to each of the sites, and I'll fund that children's. And we also made a provision where we could take some interest and fund the delta that we had with signage. And so I will also push out to the signage line, and it'll take care of that negative. I have also bolded that amount in $400,674. That was a transfer. So we got money from the city, and that was for the CSO projects, and that's related to the Lincoln Street paving and the landscaping work that we will do at downtown. So this is just showing you that now we have the budget built. The funds came in November 2020. So now we have the ability to spend that when it's time to do that work. And lastly, I'm really happy with where we are in terms of our risk contingency. We have almost $5 million. We're very healthy as we open 2021. Will we spend it this year? Yes, we will, because we're going to be in our peak year. But that amount, there's several buckets in there. The majority of that is our construction contingency, but there's also some in there for signage, technology, furniture and fixtures. But bottom line is I'm really happy with where we are almost and where we are at almost halfway through our projects. So any questions? I know that was quick, but hopefully you enjoyed the material.
Any questions for Penny?
So I have a question, Penny. This page that we're just looking at here for January 2021, the 160,000 that's negative for children's, that's not as high as all the negatives on the individual project budgets. And I'm wondering if you could just speak to why that number, like we're 160 at, maybe I didn't.
Oh, no, you're okay. We have signage. We have signage budgets, but we haven't brought in the extra that we were going to need we approved a contract that was higher than what our budgets were. And we had approved actually, I think in the 2 meetings ago, where we could spend up to $250,000 for interest towards those.
Okay, I was actually asking about the children's area.
Okay. There's $125,000 worth of budget in the Shaw Hilliard branch, which I didn't list here.
Okay.
So that I had moved in from the savings that we had when Liberty came in under budget. I knew we were going to have to do some children's design, so I pushed that into Shaw, but I just don't have that one presented here.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Penny? You made all of this very, very clear. Thank you very much, Penny. That was extremely well presented.
Okay, thank you. And I'm gonna do something a little different going forward. I feel like the projects, I think I said one time in the past that I felt like we turned the corner with our projects, and now it's going to get more exciting. I recognize that my little pie graph every month was getting boring, but I think now I think we've got some opportunity to bring some fun new information to you every month and just give you an insight inside of the bond world.
Very good. Thank you so much. Matt,
Good afternoon.
how are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, let me give you a little update. As Penny said, construction is just humming along. There's so much happening right now. It's really exciting. And the project teams are busy working out to finalizing the submittal review and approval process, the RFI process, change order proposals, meeting minutes. There's just a hum of activity going on right now. We're actually working on move-in scheduling, trying to coordinate all the different vendors and activities that have to take place so you can open these libraries up without a hitch. So we're also working on that. And Indian Trail and South Hill projects are in the design development phase right now, so they're moving along. I went to 3 sites today, and just construction is well underway. Lots of mechanical and electrical, plumbing, rough-in, framing. Windows are going in at the Hive. They're putting in aluminum window frames, and they're starting some sheetrock. The Liberty, they're putting in the curtain wall system that wraps around the 3 sides of the building. And I got to tell you, my personal, not supposed to have favorites, but that's my favorite project so far. Is the Liberty Park one. You guys have to, I don't know if you've been out there lately, but you got to go. It's just phenomenal. It's a really beautiful building, very architectonic. So
Will they let us in
anyway,
if we go to visit? Will
Yeah.
they let us in? Do we need to bring our own
Yeah.
hard hats?
yeah, you can bring a hard hat, or we can get you one.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys definitely should go take a look at the projects. It's really exciting. So Liberty, they're doing quite a bit of sheetrock on the east side as well. The downtown branch, the what they call it, the social stairs, is in on between the 2nd and 3rd floors. Talk about monumental! It's just a massive stair system. Looks great. They're putting in the stair between the 1st and 2nd floor, and it's very beautiful space. Shadle is putting in curtain wall system as well. And mechanical and electrical equipment continues. And the one that's Shaw is furthest along. They're actually putting in vinyl wall covering and painting right now. So projects are moving along quite well, and construction is, like I said, it's just humming along. Any questions regarding construction?
So will Shaw be opening pretty soon? What's the story on that?
Substantial completion is early July of this
July.
year. So
Okay.
yeah, they're holding back a little bit. So
Excellent.
Any other questions for Matt? Matt, thank you so much.
you're welcome.
All right. Chairman's report. There is no chairman's report. So we move to the library executive director's report. Andrew?
Thank you, Mary. Just tacking on to Matt's report, as far as tours go, we are planning on doing some video tours of the sites that will be very COVID friendly because that requires that, very few people be on site for that. So it's easier for us to coordinate that. It's easier on the construction crews as well, as they're getting, as you see, there's a lot of work happening, subcontractors coming in. Barring any major objections, that's the direction we'd like to move forward with, at least for the time being, for the tours. Other than that, we've been playing What Phase Are We In with our operations. And as I was writing this report, we were still in phase 1. But there was also a update from the governor's office that so long as you were in phase 1 or phase 2, libraries could basically operate under the same restrictions, meaning we could allow for in-person services up to 25% capacity. That's not the direction that we chose to go in. We were still seeing some pretty staggering numbers in our region. But after I submitted the report, we got moved to phase 2, which is great news for the community. So we have been making sure that we're in compliance with the guidance. And we will be, just like you saw in the fall, we'll be slowly layering on services back to the public. So we'll be starting again with computer access, and that will be March 2nd. And then if everything goes as anticipated, and we're able to do this safely and the community still stays in a phase 2 scenario, we'll be adding services on like, grab and go, coming to the branch to do quick browse, holds pickup, things like that. But we are going to take our time with this. We have an obligation not only to the community, but to our staff to do this in a way that's safe for everyone. So we're really excited that we're in this position again and can start bringing some services back to the public, and really excited for the community as well to get to this milestone in the reopening phase. In other news, we're also building on a relationship with the Spokane Tribe of Indians. We're currently working with them to identify a Salish name for the 3rd floor stage area of the central library. And we're also working on them on a land acknowledgement that would be on the outside of the buildings as well. So people could, as they're entering the buildings, encounter something specifically that they would want to communicate to the community and acknowledging that land. So really excited about that partnership that's developing. As far as programs go, we're in Black History Month, so we've partnered with community members to provide various events and book lists to really get the community to reflect and learn about the history of Black people in our community as well as in the country. And other news, we also have a new product that we're rolling out. This is called Gale Presents Udemy. It's almost like Academy, but Udemy. This replaces Gale Courses. It's an online learning module that we had formerly. This one is more video-based for the public. So it's going to have a more modern feel. And really complements what we have with lynda.com, which is now turning into LinkedIn Learning. So a really great collection of learning modules or platforms for the public to utilize, especially as we're all still looking for things to do in the pandemic. And really happy to acknowledge Karen Nielsen. She was selected as an honorable mention as a difference maker for the Spokesman Review for her work at Hilliard. Specifically, the partnership she developed with Meals on Wheels last fall, as well as her work with the Seed Library. And also thank you to Paul for making the nomination. It was really great to see Karen get that acknowledgement. And hold on, my screen is freezing here. And finally, another shout out for staff. Our February Star Spotlight went out to Molly Coffey. We have been working on our school partnership and what that's going to look like from a practical standpoint. And Molly took it upon herself to learn the school system's ILS. So that's basically a library's backbone of book and customer information. So she went in, taught herself how to use this thing, and figured out how our system can talk in a better way to their system. So when we do open up, that shared model of service will be better than if we were to go without really having that communication going between the two systems. So really thankful for her work on that. That was a huge lift for us and the partnership as a whole. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Questions for Andrew? Well, congratulations, Karen, and thank you to Molly as well. That sounds like darn good work. It's going to be very helpful. All right. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Next up, we have our council liaison report. Hello, Kate.
Hi, everyone. So I just have a few updates. Well, first I wanted to thank the library for being such a great partner at the city. We are currently trying to get the new contract for the next year summer youth passes that we got funded in the budget. So we are working on that language and trying to get that pushed forward a little bit. So excited to see what comes there. And hopefully we will also get the school district to jump on board and support this project too, so that we can maybe do it year round and have better access that way. So, and then also just an update, we have pretty much picked our 13 top finalists for our flag, our new city flag. And those we're right now in the process of getting everything legal signed and all of that. But once that comes out, the library has decided to help us do the voting system. And so we're going to use their platform and help with getting folks to either sign up for a library card or use their library number to be able to vote. So I'm really excited about that. And then it was really cool to hear Andrew talk about the Spokane Tribe partnership, because we're also going to be reaching out to the reservation out at Wellpinit to see if they would like to also vote on our flag as, you know, big contributors to our community. And so, so I'm really excited about that partnership as well. So, yeah, those are my updates. So thank you.
Kate, I just want to make sure I understand. In order to vote, they either have to have a library card or is that what I heard?
Yeah, so if they're in the city or county, they have to have a library card. So they have to sign up online, get the library card, and then they can vote. But we're gonna just do a different system for people out at Wellpinit. They don't have to sign up for a library card, but they still go to the same website to vote. So it'll, and anybody can vote and get a library card, but we're hoping that that would determine people from New York chiming in
Oh,
on our flag. So
got it.
that's why we're doing that. But also using the library platform, hopefully people will sign up for a library card and then get an email and they'll be like, oh, this is cool. And hopefully we'll get a little bit more engagement for the libraries through this process as well. So
And when can one see the finalists? And when and where can we see the finalists?
yeah, once we get all of the okays from the artists, I think we have one left that we need. We're going to city council on Thursday. We're going to bring all the flags forward. And once they okay them as like none of these flags are problematic, this is a go ahead. We'll then be blasting that out on social media and the news outlets, and it'll be on the library website. And we're basically coming up with different organizations and nonprofits to be sending out newsletters about the voting. So that will all start coming up here. I think we're going to do the voting the entire month of April. But we're going to be passing out like the voting guide for who made the finalists. So it'll be a little info about the artists and then why they chose the design and the flag colors and things like that, so that people can kind of look through that. So it'll be a little fun process. So I would say, in the next couple weeks, all of those 13 finalists will be public and we'll start being, engaging with networks and community leaders to kind of hopefully get this out that we're having a voting in April. So
That's great. Thank you, Kate. Does anybody else have any questions for Kate? Thank you very much. Amanda, hello. You're up.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see everyone. So for my report today, I am not focusing on the previous month, but instead on the previous year. So I'd like to give you a report on all of the marketing communication activities and achievements from 2020. But I need to start by saying that these achievements are just a reflection of all the hard work that staff put in. So a lot of what we share is just the end point of work that's been done by all of the staff. So need to make sure to acknowledge that up front. But for the first highlights, I'll tell you about our social media achievements. So we continued to schedule our social media on 3 main platforms using Agorapulse in 2020. That's been a really useful platform for us for scheduling and analytics. And as mentioned in many of our meetings, we saw our following grow, but engagement and impressions dropped. And that's a trend that was reported across our peers at other libraries of all sizes nationwide. And we speculated on why that is, but we don't know for sure. On Facebook, we saw our following grow 9% and our engagement drop 43% and our impressions drop 55%. And our top post, and here's an example of where the hard work of Karen and her seed library initiative was our top post for the year. And that reached over 30,000 people and resulted in us mailing many seed, or not us, but the team is mailing many seed packets to people all over our community. On Instagram, our following grew almost 30%. And our top post was an Amy Winehouse book face. Now, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to produce new book faces. So we started repurposing ones from previous years. And they're always so popular and interesting. Our top post of Amy Winehouse was also our top post in 2019 because we repurposed that same post. So it actually got more likes in 2020 than it did in 2019. So kind of a neat detail. And then on Twitter, our following grew 16% across 2020, and our top tweet was about the World's Fair, the World Expo in '74, and all our throwback posts always do really well, especially on Twitter. So moving on to video programming. So this is kind of a new category. This was not a category that was included in my report last year because, of course, we had to pivot to virtual programming in March of last year. And so we established a video solutions team to help upskill staff pivoting to video production. And we created, or the team created, popular video series in a library at home theme. Ginge and Moses probably was our most prolific producer of content, lots of gardening videos, cooking videos. Ryan Tucker and Sumi Shattuck created some kid reviews and nursery rhyme time that have been very popular. And one of our most popular videos, our second most popular video for the year, second and third most popular, are Researching Your House History that Reva Dean from the Northwest Room put together. So those have been very popular. And these are kind of cool stats to present. Our subscribers grew 638%. That's an impressive number. It's really because the number was pretty low to begin with, and then we put all our all our focus on getting people to watch our videos. But same with our views. That increased 660%, going from 4,000 views in 2019 to 34,000 views in 2020. So, and then on Facebook, we also pivoted our story times to be able to reach our storytime audience at home, and we produced, or the youth services team produced 150 different Facebook Live story times, which resulted in over 34,000 minutes watched. So lots of great stats there, and lots of good work by the team behind it. Next, I'll talk about Patron Point and Communico. So that is also something that wasn't in last year's report, and we adopted Patron Point and Communico at the end of 2019, and were able to really, I mean, couldn't have been better timing to be able to utilize Patron Point and Communico for all of our communications and scheduling needs across 2020. When everything went digital or online, these tools just really allowed us to do our jobs. And to back up, Patron Point is our email provider, our email newsletter provider and email provider, and Communico is our scheduling provider. So does everything from scheduling our curbside pickups to our events calendar and our app as well. So we worked at the beginning of the year to fully integrate Patron Point as our email platform for all external email communication. We migrated all of our notices from Horizon to Patron Point, and we were able to use Patron Point to segment messages to customers on branch closures that we were doing for construction, and then also due to COVID-19. And we integrated Patron Point once we were able to set up our curbside system to seamlessly notify customers that their holds were ready and allow them to book in Communico for their curbside pickup. So by switching to Patron Point, we're able to email many more people for a lower cost than in our previous email provider. So now our average subscriber is 60,000 versus 2,700 in Patron Point, or in MailChimp, which we were using before. So, and we have seen a decrease in the average open rate, which is not surprising. We, went from 2,700 people we were emailing to 60,000. Like the numbers are just bound to go down, but the click rate is actually higher. So that is an exciting stat. We sent almost 1 million emails in 2020 and 51 different types of emails. And I've also provided a kind of before and after for what the notices look like in Horizon before we switched to Patron Point. And now they can be easily edited, formatted, something that we're all a lot more used to seeing in our email inbox. And because we're using Communico for curbside pickup scheduling, we were able to get really detailed data on what was used or how many appointments were made. So we served 36,241 curbside appointments in 2020. And then finally, our app launched in May of 2020. I saw decent engagement on that. We saw over 1,000 installations and 12,000 sessions on the app. I only see that being a very useful tool for us going forward as we re-enter our branches. There's a self-checkout function on that app that people can scan their own books. So as we're getting back into the buildings, I see people using that even more. And then finally, we've got our website and paid and earned media. So our website, again, really focusing, creating content this year digitally. So really did a lot of blog posts so that we could direct people to our website. And I've listed our top blog posts here. But of course, our top blog post was library resources for when you're cooped up at home. Everything you need to know about using the library from home, all in one place on that blog post. And then our second top blog post was a Black Lives Matter book list, very topical. And we saw a decrease in number of users on our website, but you know, I'm pretty pleased with the number. We went from 249,000 in 2019 to 217,000 in 2020. And considering no one was actually in our branches for most of the year, that's still a significant number to me of traffic of people going to our website. Often, you know, we'll see traffic from like in our branches or going to our branches. So still people visiting our website, even though we weren't open. And then earned media, we didn't have as many articles published about us this year. We didn't have any major controversial topics that drove a lot of media coverage in 2019. And, you know, most media coverage is focused on any updates to our available services. And then we didn't do any paid media in 2020. So like Nicole mentioned, we all looked across our departments to see where we could cut costs in 2020. And one of the things that we did in the marketing department was not invest in any paid media during 2020 to save money. So that leads that. So that's what we did in 2020, just a few things. But in 2021, we'll be launching a new website. And it's going to be designed, it is being designed and built in-house. It's well on its way to production, and I expect in the next couple of board meetings, I'll be able to give you a preview of what that's going to look like. We're also engaging with an agency for a digital reopening campaign or grand opening campaign. So when we open these new branches, we want people to know about them. We want to know what we want everyone to know what their taxpayer dollars has created and make sure that everyone knows that there's these cool new resources in the community. And we're going to do that by working with an agency to create that campaign. We're integrating all of the communico tools that we've invested into our new building technology and our website. All of communico will be used to book all of our meeting rooms in the new buildings. And so working with Tara and the IT department to make sure that all of that is seamless and cohesive. And then we're also going to be leveraging Patron Point for more targeted email communication. And of course, continuing to navigate COVID-19 communication internally and externally over the next few months and beyond. So that concludes my report for 2020, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Amanda? Thank you very much, Amanda. But I believe we're not done with you yet. I believe under new business, you have the first agenda item, number 13A, the 2020 annual report.
Yeah, so this is a little continuation of my report on marketing. So this is more broad to the entire organization. We always publish an annual report, of course, every year. This year, we decided not to print it. We usually print up to 4,000 copies that are distributed at the State of the City and other foundation events. And of course, we're not having any large events right now. So we decided to save the money, not spend on printing. But we did create a digital PDF copy, which I'm going to share my screen with you. And we created a video. So I'm going to share my screen. That goes well. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, great. So this is the digital version of the annual report. It's the print version, but of course we're not printing it. It follows the similar format from the last few years with the cover, really beautiful photo of the read and walk that Catherine Ilbach put together using CARES funding, and some kids enjoying that in a park. The I won't read the entire report to you, but I will read this page. So 2020 was a year to pivot. As the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the world, the library closed in March and remained closed through the end of 2020 to protect the public and staff. Digital usage surged, and the library implemented a curbside pickup system to circulate physical materials. In June, the systemic racism endemic to the country rose to the surface and led the library to make a statement in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and recommit to our work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. The ongoing pandemic, political upheaval, and hazardous wildfire smoke added to a tumultuous and memorable year. So, summing it up, and we've got a data page, highlights, and I can send this link out afterwards. This is available on our website so that you can all look at this in closer detail. Updates on the library under construction in the annual report. A narrative about adapting to life in 2020, and of course our 2020 expenses. So let me show you the video version and then I will conclude my report. Okay, so that's the video and report, and both of those are available on the website for you to watch when you want some more entertainment.
Those were great. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you,
Amanda. That
and
was
thank you to
really
Skylar
fun.
for creating the video version as well. So Skylar
Oh,
did.
thank you, Skylar. All right. Any further questions for Amanda? Amanda, thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, you're up for 13B.
Yes. So you'll recall the past few meetings we've talked about the Department of Commerce grant that was given to the Spokane Regional Transportation Committee Council that is funding electrification for vehicle charging stations throughout the community. So we're asking for board approval authorizing us to enter into a master agreement around this project, as well as the related property easements for the sites that are owned by the library. So what this does is it's sort of that next step. Everyone signs just like we did with the bond master agreements. So what the board would be really signing on for would be the Hive, where SPL is the owner of the building, city as owner of the land. Reminder that will change once we turn over the East Side Library. We will then be the owner of the land. Also for Liberty Park, where the library is the owner of the building, Parks is the owner of the land. Central, SPL, owner of the building, city, owner of the land, and Indian Trail, where SPL is owner of the land and the building. You'll note that Shado Park is not on here. That will be on Parks land, but for use for the entire campus. And there is not a placeholder on here for Shaw Library either. That is school property that they would be taking care of, or they may opt to house the charging stations at the community center. I think they're still working on the details. And as far as South Hill goes, it's a really small parking lot. So the option there would be for the park and ride over off of, what's that street? Park and ride, South Hill.
Not Regal, Southeast, something like that.
Yeah, Southeast, I think. Yeah. So that's sort of the makeup that they're looking at, and this just gets us to that next step. If the board does approve this, us entering into the master agreement, it then moves on with the various other boards of the parks, city council, and will make its journey through various signatures. We worked closely with Mike Piccolo on forming this agreement. He's reviewed and approved it as well.
Andrew, given sort of the shared responsibility for these, what happens with the insurance and the liability that goes along with it?
With that, I'm going to bring Penny into the equation here.
There is an element of insurance that both the city has to provide and we do. It's not coverage that we don't already have. So we've already vetted that with our agent, Tom Blue, and the city's self-insured. So a little different for them, but that's already been addressed in the, and so what's going to happen is the first one that we're executing is for the Hive, because these are just in the, I mean, this is very early, and we've had to go a little quicker on our projects because of the construction phases that we're in. The last thing we want, the reason why we need to get Hive done first is because Vista needs to do a deep trench, and they're going to do a deep trench across where we're going to be putting a parking lot. So we need them to get in there and get it put in so that our parking lot will go on top of it here pretty soon. And just an example at the Hive, what the easements look like is in that particular case, it'd be located on the south edge of First Street. So that's the south edge of the parking lot away from the building. The easement is for an 8-foot by 96-foot piece of land. And it's just to allow Vista to come in, install it for one thing, and service it. They'll be giving us some, they're going to be giving Integra some samples of fencing and or landscaping so that the selection could be made so it integrates nicely with our building. Each site has a slightly different look to it, but right now this is the one that's most important because of where we are in that project. Liberty's going to come up right behind it. That particular location, also on the south edge of the parking lot, the actual transformer will be located in a green space, Parks Department property, but the charging, the actual machine that charges the car is going to be in our parking spot. So that's why we have to do this kind of blended all city department master agreement.
So I'm curious as to who is ultimately responsible for the equipment, like if it breaks down or something like that. It's not clear to me exactly who is kind of the point party that will be.
Vista is owner of the equipment. That's why they just have an easement to come onto our property. And the invoice, the utility bill, this is a lot of energy. This is going to be very expensive. It doesn't get charged to us. It's a high voltage system, and it'll get a direct bill to Vista. This is a 10-year agreement. Our responsibility is this. We need to keep the station, especially where the charging station is going to be in our parking lot. We need to be a good custodian of our own property, and that's to keep it clear. But it's Vista's responsibility to come in and service the equipment.
Thank you.
So if someone is hurt using this, would that be a Vista's responsibility?
Well, I think that all of the insurances would have to be consulted on the condition of whatever would
Penny, I'm
happen.
sorry, I can't hear you. There we go.
Okay. I can't predict because it would be circumstantial. The unit itself, the actual transformer, is quite large, actually. But I was told you can't even open it with an axe. Very difficult to penetrate. Can somebody hurt themselves when they plug the station into their car? I suppose. But there's an insurance element for all the parties involved in these agreements.
Casey just said that he's never used one of these before. We've got the same type of station here at Global Credit Union. When we remodeled this building, we put one in. I know they have them at the Spokane Club as well now.
There's actually two types of stations. I'm not sure. This is for the DC fast charger. That's the one that gets a direct feed to a Vista. There is another charger called a level 2. That's a small kind of a trickle charger. It would take you 24 hours probably to, I'm told, fill up your car. Those aren't on the radar as of yet. That's a function of that grant, I believe. I'm not intimate with that grant in terms of those, but the fast chargers are the ones that it's very costly for a Vista to put these in. So they have to go through a capital procurement process, and they aren't doing them in bulk because of the cost to them to install and purchase.
I guess my real question, Penny, is, I guess I've never used them. So do you go put a debit card in and it charges you while you charge it, or is it free to receive this?
It's free.
Okay.
It's
so
free.
Vista's not making money out this, except they're probably getting a grant or something.
Vista's not making anything. They have, I'm getting out of my element of things
Sure.
here. But Vista has some, requirements to be green by certain years, and all of this is a step towards that. But the level 2s would be charged to us if they get installed, and we do have an option to install a way to collect for those, but we're just not at that phase, and I'm not even sure how quickly that phase would come around.
My only thought was if a Vista was like recouping something for this, then maybe they add us as additional insured and not make us carry insurance for their machine. But if that's not the case, then never mind.
And I believe they're carrying insurance as well. I mean, all the parties involved are insured.
Okay. Do we have any more questions about this? Then we are requested to approve the signing of the master agreement for the city of Spokane and related property easements for the sites that are owned by Spokane Public Library. Do I have a motion?
So
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. We're going to get charged up. I have to tell you a funny story. We do have the charging station that we installed here, and we rarely get anyone who comes here and plugs their car in while they're coming inside to do business. However, we do have people who park their car there overnight and charge it. And okay, that's if that's how people are going to use it, that's great. But we do have a Tesla that gets parked here and charged overnight from time to time. All right. Then we've got agenda item 13C, and I believe this is you, Penny. Is that true?
It's me.
Okay.
This is a bond matter. We recently advertised for a user access control system. And what this is a software and hardware components that interface with our building, like our room reservation system. So we worked with Group 4 and Integris and Hill and our attorneys, Perkins Coie and the city legal, and the documents were prepared. We went to bid, and on February 11th, we had 2 bidders. One from Security Solutions, which is a West Side business for $115,000, And the other bid came from a local company, Northwest Cabling, in the amount of 107. There's steps that we have to perform before we can accept or award the bid. And we're in the process of doing that now. And those steps include making sure that the bid that was submitted to us by the lowest apparent bidder is, it meets the specs that were included in the bid documents. And also we have to make sure that they are licensed and insured appropriately to do a public works job. So we're in that process right now. These dollar amounts are bids for the phase 1 projects, and our bid was written so that phase 2 could be added by way of amendment once the design is completed by Integris. We couldn't include it because that design work is underway. So our request to the board this evening is to provide approval to proceed with the execution of a contract for the user access control system for phase 1 and the future phase 2 projects with the resulting lowest bidder who meets the responsible bidder criteria, which we should know in the next few days. It will be one of these two.
Thank you, Penny. So we have the request for our approval to proceed with the execution of the contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Very good. It's been moved and seconded that we approve for you to proceed with the execution of that contract. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Are there any additional items or changes to the agenda that we need to cover tonight? Very good. Our next regular meeting is going to be Tuesday, March 16th. There is no executive session this evening. And so with no further business to come before this board, we stand adjourned. Thank you all very much. Happy Fat Tuesday to you all. And we'll see you again real soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks,
All right.
bye.
Bye-bye.